I'm going to be making some remarks today, and they should be taken in the spirit not of criticism, but of constructive support and advice. We are in a very serious situation. That is clear. And I think all political parties have to work together, and the people of India have to work together if we want to solve this problem and defeat this virus.
You've said that India is nowhere in the game as far as testing for COVID is concerned. What do you have to say on the response of the government on testing so far? And do you also suggest a joint panel of leaders, as you rightly said, that all parties and people have to get together to fight this, or of parliamentarians to suggest the way forward on issues relating to COVID response, both on the social and economic level?
See, in order to answer your question on testing, I'll have to go into a bit more detail about the current situation. Before I start, I'd like to say that over the last couple of months, I've been speaking to large numbers of experts in India, abroad, in government, outside government, who have a very good understanding of what is going on. So a lot of what I'm going to be saying is going to be based on these conversations. Now, the first thing to understand is that a lockdown is like a pause button. A lockdown is in no way a solution to the COVID virus. It is as if you've hit pause and stopped the virus in its tracks until the lockdown. When we come out of the lockdown, the virus is going to start its work again. So it is very important that we have a strategy to come out of the lockdown. Now, what are the things that need to be put in place? The lockdown allows you the time and space to put in medical resources, to ramp up your testing ability, to prepare your hospitals, to get ventilators, to create the type of architecture that is required to fight the virus when it picks up again. So there is one misconception that I would like to clear up. In no way does a lockdown defeat the virus. It stops the virus for some time. Now, what is the real weapon against the virus? The biggest weapon. The biggest weapon is testing. Testing at scale so you know where the virus is moving, and you can isolate the virus, you can fight the virus, and you can target the virus. Now, I want to give you a few statistics on testing. I think our testing rate is 199 out of a million. And if you look at all the tests that we've done over the last 72 days, it works out to approximately an average of 350 tests per district. Now, this is in no way enough to tell you how the virus is moving. So the central theme is, if you want to fight the virus, you have to increase testing dramatically, and your testing has to go from chasing the virus to moving ahead of the virus. Means you have to move into random testing, and you have to start to preempt where the virus is moving. A lot of our testing is currently chasing the virus because we are identifying cases and then following the virus. With that type of testing, you will never be able to actually get a good image of what the virus is doing and where the virus is. So one advice to the government, and this is something that I've said and we've been saying, push testing aggressively, maximize testing, and use testing strategically. Use testing to assist the states in their fight. Use testing not simply to track patients who are infected, but to create a map of India to see where the virus is moving, identify hotspots using testing. So I'm proposing scaling up testing and using testing strategically. And I'm saying that the government of India currently, the testing levels are too low and they're not using testing strategically.
Mr. Gandhi, in your tweet sometime back, and also in your letter to Prime Minister, you had suggested that India should prepare an India-specific policy
Yes.
Keeping in mind the complexities of India, you also hinted at a partial lifting of the lockdown. Can you actually suggest more concretely what the government can do? Because from next Monday, they are anyways relaxing several industries from the 20th. So you have some concrete suggestions in mind to offer?
I think number one, it should be a strategic opening. So you open particular key areas. You use testing to identify, and this is where the point of ramping up testing is important. You use testing to identify dynamically which are the hotspots. And you clamp down on those hotspots. But you create two basic zones in India, a hotspot zone and a non-hotspot zone. And you use testing to identify the places which are becoming hotspot. So you make sure that if any zone is moving from a non-hotspot zone in terms of the disease, you immediately clamp down. So that would be how you would think about it. Because realize that at one level, when you lock people up, the disease gets locked up. When you open the door, the disease will come rushing out. So that was on the medical side. There is going to be a massive financial backlash that is going to come. You're going to see the first waves of unemployment, and then that will start to spiral. You will see massive pressure coming on our financial system. So you will have to set up structures and manage your funding so that you don't get caught. Suppose you spend all your money right now immediately, and then you have a financial crisis. Later in a few months, you've got a real problem. So you have to think strategically and you have to move strategically. Certainly, you have to spend a significant portion of your money in protection of people. See, for us, life is the most important thing. And we cannot simply let our people be under these circumstances. So we have to protect human life. But we also have to make sure that we, in protecting them from the virus, that we don't destroy our economy completely. So it is a dynamic, constantly moving strategy. That is why I get worried when I see very blunt instruments. I would have liked a lot more power decentralized to the states. I would have liked a more detailed conversation between the states and the Prime Minister with regards to the strategy with the lockdown. But fine. I mean, there's a particular style that Modi ji has, which is fine. One can work around that style.
What Manoj basically wanted to ask from the Express was, and I read the question, all the Congress-ruled states had demanded extension of the lockdown. You, on the other hand, have asked the government to change its one-size-fits-all strategy. You have argued that India's conditions are unique and need to take different steps, unlike other large countries which are following a total lockdown strategy. Why this contradiction or suggestion?
Well, first of all, India is the only country in the world that is attempting a lockdown with the migrant population that we have. There is no other country in the world that has the scale of migration that we have, other than China, which has stopped the migration in its tracks, because the Chinese system is different. They have, most of their migrants live in factories and live near factories and live in proper housing. So we have this huge migration problem. And we are also quite a decentralized country. I have been a member of parliament in Uttar Pradesh and in Kerala. I can tell you that the response in Kerala is completely different than the response in Uttar Pradesh. Results are different, the way of working is different, the style is different. So you need to give much more power to the chief ministers. In my view, the center needs to control the main arteries, the main national system. But the state needs to control its area. So if Chhattisgarh, in my view, wants a more nuanced lockdown, and a Uttar Pradesh wants a total lockdown, that choice, in my view, should have been given to the chief ministers. But it's fine. It's not been given. We are past that now. It's no point going over it again. Now we've gone into a full lockdown. We're now opening up partially on the 20th. I'm advocating a strategic opening because I fear that if you open and you do not have testing, you will be forced to go into a lockdown again, because you will see the disease profile will pick up. So that is why I'm advocating for a strategic lockdown where the state governments are aggressively testing and checking what is going on dynamically. I just want to tell the people of India that you have nothing to worry about. You might be feeling that this is a very scary experience. We've never been locked up in our house. What is going to happen to us? I want you to know that this country is bigger than any disease. This country knows how to deal with much, much bigger challenges than the one we are facing. So I want you to think about this with a sense of confidence. If we are able to overcome this, it will put us actually in a much better place. It is challenging, it is difficult, but we will do it together. I am absolutely convinced that we will succeed, we will defeat this virus, and India will come out at a better place. As a member of the opposition, I want to give support to the government, to all the governments, not just the national government, but the state governments. And I want to tell all the people who are fighting this battle that we are very proud of you, and we know the difficulties that you're going through, the trouble that you're going through. I think one of the things that hasn't been mentioned in this press conference, protective equipment for doctors and nurses. This is something that absolutely has to be delivered because they are at the forefront of this fight. But we must not deal with this through fear. Fear is not the prism we should use. The prism we should use is confidence. We are a great nation and we're going to win this fight. And we will come out much better